You're listening to WTTU's 88.5 The Nest, Cookeville's only alternative station run by students for students. There are two ways you can check out the action, either here on the airwaves of 88.5, or you can stream us live at www.tntech.edu/WTTU. You're listening to Radio Roulette. I'm your host, Briley Barnett, and usually this is a show where I go into the physical archives of WTTU and pull randomly selected albums, cassettes, vinyls, anything I can get my hands on, and I give them a spin for the first time in a long time. But today is an extremely special episode as I am joined by a guest. Today I am accompanied by one of my favorite artists, Field Guide, otherwise known as Dylan via the government. So would you like to introduce yourself and say hello?
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm Dylan from Field Guide.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being here today. So, you just got back from a tour in the UK and going to some fun places in Europe. How was that? What was that like for you?
It was great. Yeah, I've never been to Europe at all, even just as a tourist. So it was cool to see like 18 cities all over the place. Yeah, it was intense. It was a lot of driving
Mm.
and pretty crazy schedule, but really fun.
Good. So, our listeners will have just heard "Leave You Lonely" right before we started this little interview. So, would you want to talk about any inspiration behind "Leave You Lonely," or just where that sort of fits within the album that you're releasing soon, or whatever else?
Sure. Yeah, I wrote that song just kind of as it often goes, just with a little bit of downtime um, between between things I had to do. I was out in Western Canada doing
Mm.
some writing and recording with a guy named Michael Bernard Fitzgerald, who I've played in his band for quite a while, and he was late to the session, so I just kind of was messing around, and that song came out. So it was yeah, it was kind of nice. I feel like that happens a lot for me. Just it feels like there's no pressure or something. You don't even know how much time you have, and something about taking away the I need to write a song right now, or I really trying to write a song, really seems to help them come.
Wow, that's awesome. Because I was going to ask you what your writing process generally looks like. And I'm sure I've talked to a few people who have said it differs from song to song, definitely. Um, but I find that so interesting because I think that your music is so, a lot of it is so deeply like personal and like really emotive. And to think that you're just kind of like very casually like, yeah, I'm just waiting for my friend to get here. Let me write this beautiful, heartfelt, bittersweet melody, or whatever. That's crazy to me. That's awesome. Um, I discovered your music about a year ago. I heard your song "You Were." It came up on my Spotify Discover Weekly, and I sobbed. It was awesome, and
Awesome.
and ever since then, I've been following you for everything that's going on. So you do have a self-titled album coming out the 28th of October.
hmm
What has been? It's a 12 length, 12 song album. What has been that process for you? What's been difficult about it? What has been rewarding or much easier than you anticipated?
Yeah, it was. I think it's a record I've been kind of trying to make for a while. I recorded it, especially sonically. I recorded it in a few different places. I recorded it like in a little cabin in Manitoba, really DIY styles, and then yeah, went to Montreal and worked at a studio I've been wanting to work at for quite a while called Break Glass, and
Mm.
then also went back to a studio in Vancouver that I did a lot of the You Were EP there, and just a bunch of work kind of over the years called Monarch. And so it was kind of a culmination of recording in a few places I've wanted to try, and some sort of tried and true places, which was cool.
Very cool. Very cool. I wanted to ask if there is a specific song on the album that you are the most excited about getting people to be able to hear? And it could be one that you've already released the single for, but of those 12, is there one that you are just like, that's the one I can't wait for people to get?
Hmm. I think my favorite on the record is a song called "You Carry Me," um,
Hmm.
and it was actually done a little bit more in Montreal. We were kind of ahead of schedule, and so we recorded that one live off the floor. It was sort of just a song that was living in my voice memos and whatnot. But I'm so glad it ended up making the record.
That's so cool. That's so, so cool. Is that one of the main ways that you sort of jot down, quote unquote, your ideas and stuff when you're writing, when things just come to you randomly? Is it a quick voice memo and then you come back to it later?
For
That,
sure, yeah.
yeah.
The voice memo app is
Oh,
close to my heart for sure.
good. Wonderful. Well, that is super cool. Do you have a specific goal for yourself as an artist within this next year of like maybe headlining, touring, or even just getting more streams and more listeners?
Yeah, I this record cycle it looks like is gonna kind of be the catalyst for a sort of change that I've been looking forward to for quite a while, which is yeah, A, doing quite a bit of headlining touring through Canada, and also I think quite a bit of the US, and
Hmm.
doing it with a band for the I guess not necessarily the first time, but I've been doing mostly solo stuff for the last couple of years, so it's gonna be fun to yeah, go out with the band for quite a few dates.
Very, very cool. I hope you come to Nashville eventually.
We will.
Yeah, perfect. All right. And then I was gonna ask, what are some of your personal like music inspirations? Who are you listening to right now, or who's somebody that you've always listened to that you look up to, so on and so forth?
Totally. Right now, I just kind of came out of a big phase of listening to the new Buck Meek record. Um, yeah, huge fan of that stuff. Been listening to a bunch of Mac DeMarco recently, which is kind of bleeding into sort of new stuff I'm making right now. Just I'm recording a lot of stuff by myself and sort of in a bedroomy kind of way. But yeah, I mean, some sort of big ones, constant big ones for me have been a guy named Lee Followback, big fan of, and Andy Schaaf, big fan of. With those two, it's definitely a lot of the sounds of their records I've been really obsessed with. And Leaf's recorded a lot of his records out at the studio Break Glass, which is where I went for a bunch of this record. I've just been, yeah, really curious to get to record in that room, which was, yeah, a cool experience.
That's awesome. So, so cool. Um, I was gonna circle back a little bit to I do think I've already highlighted it, but your lyricism and your like narrative telling via your songs and things, I think are so strong and so like just very deeply personal to you, from what I can tell, obviously. And I was curious how that affects you as somebody who's I would assume your writing process is something of a like you emotionally processing as well certain things. Maybe it's not. Um, but if that's true, what is it like to then play some of those songs like in front of people and regularly? And what is that um, like for you?
Yeah, I think it definitely is that. It is like some sort of form of like journaling in a way. It feels
Mm,
like I think I wrote somewhere for like kind of the description of the record that it feels sometimes like journaling before you're ready to kind of like actually, you know, be able to
mm,
coherently write down some things. It just things kind of flow out. Um, and yeah, I mean, this record was written and recorded in, sort of pretty dark pandemic times, which I think as for me and for a lot of people that sort of coincided with just generally some personal kind of dark times. So um I'm I'm actually enjoying kind of making music that's a little bit more fun.
Yes.
Um,
Good.
it's just a little bit lighter, but I'm really proud of those songs, and I do feel like there's some of the most personal, and some of them just, yes, they kind of like highlight a style of songwriting that I've been working at and getting better at for quite a while.
I think that's awesome. I think that is so super important, especially for artists who are like, writing from their own personal experience and making sure that they're also able to like not just get bogged down in the things that are, naturally things they would write about, but pushing themselves to like write about wonderful, good things that still exist. I think that's beautiful. Do you have any words of advice for people out there who may be looking into starting writing music or making music?
Hmm. Um, I think I think it's probably the same thing everyone says, so
Mhm.
maybe it's not overly helpful, but just the act of just doing it as much as possible, you know? The catalyst for me kind of writing for this project was this song club we had, which was a bunch of us, bunch of artist friends writing a song every week, and we'd have like sort of a shared Dropbox folder. Everyone would upload their song before then you went to bed on Sunday night, and it was cool because it was sort of the motivation was you were in this group with all these great writers, and you got to kind of just see what was in their brain every week. But if you didn't upload a song, then you got kicked out of the Dropbox and you couldn't hear everyone else's.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah. And anyway, I guess just that process pushed me to sort of um, just yeah finish songs more and just kind of know that sometimes you got to get some bad ones out to get a find a good one. And so yeah, I just say do that as much as possible, and recording in any capacity, whether it's voice memos or some sort of garage band setup where you can just explore your ideas of how you want the songs to come through um, in a recorded way.
Right on. I think that's awesome. I think that I know you said that you feel like it's been said before, but I think it's overtly applicable to any art form. It's like you've got to just be willing to do it and call it done at some point because you can sit there and tweak it and try and fix everything for a million years if you're not careful. So I think that is a really good word of advice because
Cool.
for anybody who is, working on trying to do that and that sort of self-doubt that comes with starting something as
Hmm.
um, you know, time consuming and as personal as making music. So
Totally.
I think that's a wonderful, wonderful thing to tell people.
Cool.
I think that is a majority of my personal questions. Is there anything else that you would like to cover about yourself or about the album that's coming up, or just even if you want to finish up and tell everybody where to find you? All of that is fair game.
Sure. Yeah. I'm on Instagram and that sort of thing at Field Guide Songs. And yeah, Bandcamp, Spotify, all those sorts of things. And yeah, I'm just finishing up booking a tour for sort of, I think, end of February into the spring. So would love to see some people IRL.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much for joining me today. I genuinely cannot tell you how much I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And well, of course, anytime you'd like to be back, you let me know. And next up, our audience will be hearing You Will Be Free from Field Guide.